Officially start. So, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining us over your lunch hour today. My name is Tanya Blayton Ngauza, and I'm the program lead here at WESC. Now, our topic today is business ownership in Saskatchewan, a guide for newcomers. And this will be presented by Leonard Eagle. He's an advisor at Sask Startup Institute. Now, throughout his presentation, if you have any questions for him, let's use the Q&A box to ask those questions. And as I mentioned earlier, you can use a chat box to introduce yourselves. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and it will be available for on-demand viewing on our website. So with that being said, I am going to take myself out of the way and I'm going to introduce Leonard to begin his presentation. Leonard, over to you.
Sounds good. Tanya, the chat is disabled, by the way.
It is.
Yeah,
oh my gosh. Okay. I will fix that right. How is it disabled? Okay, I'll get it.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, yeah, without further ado, my name's Leonard. I'm an advisor at SAS Startup Institute. I've been here for about 2 years now. I graduated from the University of Saskatchewan in 2022, majoring in finance. I'm originally from Austria, so I'm fluent in German. The reason we actually immigrated to Canada was because my family, they're serial entrepreneurs. So they've owned a few restaurants, nightclubs all over Europe. Currently still own a restaurant in Nova Scotia, as well as a trade facilitation business here in Saskatchewan. So I've kind of seen entrepreneurship, firsthand through my family businesses, as well as some other projects I've assisted in. Well, yeah, today I'll be presenting business ownership in Saskatchewan, a guide for newcomers, and I'm excited to present this to you. So yeah, if you haven't heard of SAS Startup Institute, we're a federally funded nonprofit. We have offices here in Saskatoon as well as one in Regina, and essentially most of our services are free and very similar to WESC's services. We're delivered by SREDA, so that's the Saskatoon Regional Economic Development Authority, and we're funded by Prairie's Economic Development Canada. Feel free just to say SREDA for short. We know it's a mouthful, so SREDA is perfectly fine. And we are a member of the Western Canada Business Services Network. So no matter what province you're in, there is an institution similar to ours offering the same types of services. So before we get started, I just wanted to throw this question out. Feel free to use the Q&A box or the chat. What is an entrepreneur? Yeah, just feel free to, if you have any ideas, feel free to throw those into the Zoom chat. So we have a person who starts their own business, someone who engages in creating profit and value. Perfect. Yes, those are both good answers. A business owner for sure. So, a person crazy enough to think they can change the world and make a difference. I guess whoever's asking that question for sure. Awesome. Well, we defined an entrepreneur as someone who organizes, manages, and assumes the risk of a business. Oh, sorry, shouldn't have went there. Yeah, does anyone know the pros and cons of being an entrepreneur? Feel free to throw those in the chat as well. So why would people start their own business? Kind of what are the pros, cons? An innovative idea to start your own business. Yep. Pros, freedom. Cons, you take all the risks by yourself unless a partnership or a corporation. That is correct. They don't have to work under someone. That is also correct. That could be a pro. They have a bigger mission for sure. You can definitely accomplish that bigger mission through entrepreneurship. So the pros and cons of entrepreneurship that we defined, we'll start off with the pros. Being your own boss, you won't be working under someone. Essentially, all the responsibilities fall upon you. You can make all the decisions. Once you start building up, say, for example, a board of directors, that might be a little bit difficult to make all of those decisions. However, definitely starting out, being your own boss, that's the biggest pro to entrepreneurship. Those flexible working hours. So as you as the business owner, you get to decide when you work and how you work. Whether you're working at a coffee shop, you rent a co-working space, you're working from home. Those are all possible through entrepreneurship. However, what you put in is essentially what you get out of it. Another pro is you get to follow your passions and use your skills. If you're really passionate about something, you have this certain skill set that can provide value in the community or as a service offering, or potentially a product as well. You get to follow those passions and do what you're really passionate about, and kind of build that business to how you see fit. It is rewarding work. It is rewarding when you get paid for something you love doing, and essentially when all your hard work pays off. However, with this, there are some cons as well. So there's no fixed income. Again, you're responsible for, whether it's your sales, or revenues, anything like that. There is, a little bit of risk there just because you're not working a normal 9 to 5, with no salary. As well as benefits, those are a big piece too that you get through a salaried position. You do have long working hours. So although, you have those flexible working hours, entrepreneurship does tend to be a 24-hour thing. When you're first starting the business, you'll be managing marketing, administrative tasks, and so on. So you have a lot of different areas of the business you'll be juggling. So a lot of the time, even with those flexible working hours, it does tend to be quite long hours, especially at the start up until you're established. There is financial risk as well. You're not just risking your money, you're also risking your time. So there is some risk that comes with entrepreneurship, as well as there is a lot of multitasking and it can be challenging work, back on that piece of juggling those different areas of the business. So yeah, entrepreneurship in Saskatchewan, it is quite prominent. So 99% of companies in Saskatchewan are small businesses. This is defined as having less than 50 employees. They contribute 31% of the province's workforce and annually contribute 6.3 billion in total paid wages and salaries. So as you can see from these quick statistics here, entrepreneurship is quite prominent in Saskatchewan, and it is a viable option for a lot of newcomers. And they do contribute 24% of Saskatchewan's GDP. However, the biggest takeaway from these statistics is that 72% of small business owners will retire soon. So if you're not feeling quite confident to go out and start a new business, there will be lots of potential to purchase an existing business in Saskatchewan in the coming years, with already has that brand presence and are already have been established for multiple years. So even if you think starting a brand new business isn't kind of what you want to do, you also have the option of purchasing an existing business, as they will be for sale coming shortly. So, yeah, can anyone name an entrepreneur? Thought I'd throw this in here. It's usually an interesting question, see what comes to mind to people first off. So yeah, does anyone have any entrepreneurs? Elon Musk, yeah, that's a common one there. Definitely an entrepreneur. Jeff Bezos, perfect. Yes. Wow, we're really thinking big today. Perfect. Awesome. Well, yeah, those are both entrepreneurs for sure. However, entrepreneurship, doesn't have to be a celebrity, someone who started these, multi-million dollar businesses. It can be a family member, a cousin. Entrepreneurship is all around us, and it is prominent in Saskatchewan. So those are all great examples. And definitely any one of you on the call today can be one of these entrepreneurs. Um, so yeah, before you go ahead and start your business, if you're in that planning stage, the most successful businesses, they're a solution to a problem. So say, for example, you live in the Evergreen area of Saskatoon. That's where I am currently. Say, every morning, a working mom has to drop off her kids at school and she doesn't have time to make a coffee in the morning. Opening up a coffee shop potentially in that area, that's a solution to a problem. So when we speak of solutions to a problem, they don't have to be a ginormous problem. It can be anything from something little to something big. However, the most successful businesses, there's somewhat of a solution to a problem in the community. So yeah, before you go ahead and start, go ahead and start your business, you should evaluate your business idea. So usually we always ask entrepreneurs, what are you good at and enjoy doing? And what skills, education, and experience do you have? If you're good at something and you enjoy doing it, you have a higher chance of staying committed to that idea as well as it becoming successful. If you have the correct skills, education, and experience in that industry, you have greater chances of success of offering a service or product that will resonate with customers, as well as get the money coming back into the business, as well as customers coming back in through the doors. So when someone comes to us with a new idea that they want to start, this is a good basis to guide you on kind of where you should tailor your efforts when you go ahead and start your business. So, why do most businesses fail? Unfortunately, in Canada, 52% of businesses fail. So that's, I don't mean to concern you with that statistic. However, there are some reasons for these failures. The biggest piece would be the lack of research and planning. So shortly here, I'll get into the importance of business planning and all the research that we offer and that you should be doing before you go ahead and start your business. However, with that statistic, most of the time these businesses fail due to lack of originality. If the market's saturated, it's kind of hard to provide, new value to a customer that's already used to an existing business. And especially if there's, say, for example, 5 coffee shops near where you want to open. Lack of capital and or cash management, that's a big piece as well. If you can't manage the money that's coming in, you're spending it too much. That's another big reason why these businesses fail. And then lack of experience of the business owner. So back to those 2 questions I mentioned on guiding, on evaluating your idea. If you have that experience, you have a greater chance of beating that statistic. So yeah, we like to put this quote in here from Benjamin Franklin. If you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. Planning ahead for your business, starting off with that business plan, it is a crucial step. And it can prepare you for success and potentially something that you might not have thought of when you first came up with the idea. So that goes into the importance of business planning. Essentially, a business plan is an action plan. So you'll write out everything from your marketing strategy to your financial projections, potentially, HR requirements, and all that good stuff. A business plan is an essential piece before going ahead and starting your business. It'll provide you with a roadmap, and just getting your thoughts on paper really does help. Because I know, when you're starting off with a new idea, your brain's kind of all over the place. There's this. But if you just write it out and kind of go one step at a time, it will really help you and build on the feasibility and of your business and kind of provide you with that peace of mind as well. So business plans on average, they do take around 25 to 50 hours to complete. So they are quite long. However, we do offer free research for the business plan, and we can do a lot of this research for you. So I'll get into that a little bit later. However, I'd recommend taking advantage of any of the free research you can get, essentially because it will only set you up for further success. And if you are looking to apply for any financing or any grants, CDAP, anything like that, you will need a completed business plan to apply for any of those. So it is a very important piece. However, I won't spend too much time on business planning. We do have a separate webinar on how to write a business plan, which I believe actually happens tomorrow. So if you are wanting some more info there, feel free to check that out. Is there any questions so far? I know we have some in the Q&A box here. Are you going to share your slides to us after the webinar? Yeah, I can send these slides over for sure. Well, if there's no question, oh, here we go. The webinar tomorrow for writing a business plan. Yeah, so I'll show you that link a little bit later in the presentation here. Um, However, yeah, it's just a virtual webinar and it occurs monthly. We switch it between Tuesdays and Thursdays, either at 12 or 4. And yeah, I'll show you where to find that webinar a little bit later here. How do we enroll to get the research part? Yeah, for sure. So I have a couple slides explaining all the research coming up here shortly. Once I explain that a little bit, I'll show you where to request that. You can either do it on our website or directly through me if needed. But yeah, I'll show you that shortly here as well. So, so yeah, now that you know a little bit about business planning and the importance and entrepreneurship in Saskatchewan, we can get into actually setting up the business in Saskatchewan. So that we do this through four main steps. First being choosing your structure, registering your business name, acquiring applicable licenses and permits, tax accounts, and any other employer obligations. Um, all right, so before you can go ahead and register the business, you do need to decide on a business structure. Essentially, the main three you'll be deciding between are either a sole proprietorship, a partnership, or a corporation. Sole proprietors and partnerships have the same benefits and drawbacks. However, partnerships are two or more people, and a sole proprietor can only be one. So under these structures, you do have unlimited liability. So what that means, if there was any form of lawsuit or anything to go wrong with the business, you can be held personally liable. So things such as your personal assets can be put up against any business issues or anything like that. However, these structures they do have the fewest regulations, the limited the most limited amount of paperwork, and the lowest fees to register, which I'll get into shortly. And any net profit under these structures, they're essentially yours. So under these structures, you don't have an owner's salary. You kind of just pocket the net profit. Through these structures, you'll do your T1 as normal, as well as you'll submit a statement of business activities. So you'll be taxed as one. So this is where your tax rate can get quite high under these structures, especially if you have a day job. Those will be lumped together, and you'll be taxed at your individual rate. So as your income increases, your tax rate unfortunately increases. Now, with the corporation structure, corporations are separate legal entities. So that means you and the business are separate. So you have limited liability. So what that means, personal assets are somewhat protected under these structures. However, we still recommend some form of liability insurance or, directors and officers insurance, just because there have been cases where people have still been being held liable. Um, this structure is the most heavily regulated and documented, so it is a little bit more expensive to start. Once a year you'll have to have your meeting with all directors, take meeting notes, and submit those. Even if it's just yourself, you'll have to sit in a room and take those notes. When you do register, you'll have your articles of incorporation. You can set up shareholders as well, which I'll get into in a little bit here, and you'll have your directors. Is there any questions on the business structures? Okay, so if there's no questions on the structures here, so, So once you've decided on your business structure, naming your business does include two components. So you will need a distinctive phrase as well as a descriptive phrase. So as you can see on the slide here, Canada National, that's the distinctive phrase. It can be unique to you, unique to the business, whereas the descriptive phrase needs to describe what the business does. It is a legal requirement, at least to have any legal documents or any checks, anything like that, to include both the distinctive and descriptive phrase. However, a lot of people operate just under the distinctive phrase, but that would include that any legal documents will need the full name, and when you do register, you will need to include a descriptive phrase in the business name. You can also see LTD on the slide here. So for a corporation, they do need legal endings as well. So they can be LTD, Limited, Corp, Incorporated, Inc., or Incorporate or Corporation. So one of those legal endings is required for any corporations. However, there's no difference between any of them. It's kind of just what looks best to you. Before going ahead and reserving your business name and registering that name, we recommend doing a trademark search, just because if you reserve your business name and there's an existing trademark on the business, essentially you'll lose your $50 and you won't have the ability to get it back. So yeah, we always recommend doing a trademark search beforehand, as well as a domain search, to make sure that any website that you're wanting for that business name is available. Because if you have a completely different business name than your website, it might be a little bit hard for customers to find you. Okay. Yeah, so once you've decided on that business structure, you've got your name down, you can go ahead and start the registration process. This is just done through ISC, through that link on the slide there, the corporateregistry.isc.ca. You'll go on there, make an account. The first step is submitting a business name. It'll take about 2 to 5 days for that name to be approved or denied. They base that on if anyone else in Saskatchewan is using that business name, and that will cost you $50. Once the name is approved, to register the business, they recently updated these numbers here. So it's now $60 to register a sole proprietorship or partnership, or $255 to register a corporation. So in total, a sole proprietorship or partnership, it's about $110. Whereas a corporation, it's about $305. So you can already see that the prices for a corporation are a little bit more steep. However, that limited liability piece, as well as the ability to separate your personal finances and your corporate finances, to kind of do some tax planning and tax strategy, might be beneficial, just because, with the corporation, the business will be taxed and you'll be taxed depending on what you pay yourself. So you can do a little bit of tax planning and kind of lower your tax burden through the corporation. So a lot of the time, entrepreneurs will start off right away with just a corporation. However, there's no threshold or anything like that to begin the corporation, so it's completely up to you. Another big piece is that sole proprietors and partnerships renew every 3 years for $50, and corporations annually for $50. However, sole proprietors and partnerships, since you're taxed together and a corporation is taxed separately, you will need to file a corporate return once a year as well. So the business taxes, which, depending on your revenues, they can be between $500 to $2,000. So I wouldn't just take the renewal and the registration costs as your only real costs for the corporation. You should definitely budget for that corporate tax return, which you will have to file regardless of how much money you make. So it can be a little bit of a burden at the end of the year for new entrepreneurs or those operating in riskier areas where they don't know how much money they'll make. Excuse me. When you do this registration, you'll have the option to sign up for your PST account as well, and for workers' compensation insurance. I'll get into those a little bit later. However, you can also federally incorporate. Federally incorporating would protect your business name across Canada. However, you still need to register in whichever province you're based out of. So a lot of the time, unless you're doing e-commerce or you're opening multiple locations or you have some form something you want to protect across Canada. A lot of the time, it isn't viable for most entrepreneurs. However, if you do want to go that route, it is about $210 to federally incorporate, but you will also need the provincial one. So you're looking at about 500 and something to do both of those. So once you've done that ISC registration, which is kind of considered your provincial registration, you can acquire any additional licenses or permits. So if you're in Regina or Saskatoon, we do have business licenses here that are required, either a commercial one or a home-based business license. So you'll need to get that as well. It's $135 in Saskatoon, where I'm located. However, depending on what industry you're in, you might need additional licenses or potential permits. So usually we recommend BizPal. It's just www.bizpal.ca. It'll give you a list of potential licenses or permits based on where you're located and what industry you're operating in. However, these aren't comprehensive, so they will give you a lot of licenses and permits you might not need, like building renovation and sign permits and what have you. So I wouldn't take this as if you use this website, I wouldn't take it as, okay, I need all of these. Just only some of them you might need. So it isn't comprehensive. So I would definitely just make sure that you're not getting a bunch of licenses or permits you don't need. So now we're on step 3, which is your tax accounts. So I mentioned you can sign up for PST right when you do that provincial registration with ISC. We do usually recommend just doing it all in one. When you do that, you'll get your PST account, you'll get your federal business number for your GST account, and you'll basically just get all your accounts opened at one time. So PST, all businesses are required to be registered for it. Regardless of if you're exempt, you still need to open that account. You'll be assigned either a vendor account or a consumer account. If you're a vendor, that means you will have to charge PST. If you're a consumer, that means you will not have to charge PST. However, it is 6% of the retail price. So say, for example, you're selling, $100 worth of goods or services to a customer. You'll put an additional 6% on top of that $100. So the easiest way to keep track of this, have that subtotal PST calculated underneath and a final total. Excuse me. So then you'll get to keep that $100. That's $6, or that's 6% on each transaction will go into your PST account. It is on whatever price you determine. You'll just have to remember to charge an additional 6%. And we're all used to paying it here. So if you think, it'll turn away customers from that 6%, it won't. We're all used to paying it here. And yeah, if you are wanting some more info on PST, you can always reach out to us as well. However, there is the PST bulletins linked on the slide there, which shows you for every industry if you have to charge PST or not. And we do assist in PST returns. So if you are having some trouble with that, feel free to reach out and we can help you get through that. The other one is GST. So this is a federal sales tax through the CRA. You'll need your federal business number from the ISC registration to sign up for GST. And this is 5% of the retail price. So, in total, you're charging 11%. 6% goes to your PST account, 5% to your GST account. So the simplest way to keep track of it, again, is just that subtotal, PST, GST, final total. So you can just add up the total amounts of tax collected and submit them to the correct accounts. However, GST, it's not mandatory until you have 30,000 in total sales in 1 year. However, I would just caution you, some people have ran into issues where, it's consecutive quarters. So, it could be June to June. It's not just January to December. It could be, consecutive quarters that total 30,000. So I would just caution you a little bit there. However, you can also sign up for it, right from the first day. They kind of put this little bit of a threshold there just to give new business owners some administrative breaks so they don't have as much to keep track of. However, if you do sign up for it from the first day of business, you can claim tax credits. So say, for example, you're buying supplies that you're paying GST on. You can get that 5% tax paid back in the form of a tax credit, but only if you're charging it to your customers. So, if you do think you'll have significant startup expenses or, you're buying lots of inventory or anything like that, we definitely recommend signing up for GST right away, because that 5% can add up fairly quickly. So before I move on to the additional employer obligations, I just wanted to take a quick break, see if there's any questions on ISC, taxes, that type of thing. Yeah, we got one here. If it's an online business or offering online services, do we need to have federal registration or license? So you wouldn't need the federal one. However, you would need the provincial registration with ISC wherever you're based, as well as a home-based business license if you're doing this from home. Um, yeah, if you're located in either Saskatoon or Regina. If you're located elsewhere, you might not need that business license. We just recommend checking with your local municipality, and seeing if that other license is required, but for sure that ISC provincial registration. Do we need PST for online businesses? Yeah, so this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So, for example, Saskatchewan has PST, Alberta does not have PST, BC has PST, Ontario has HST. So, depending on where your customer lives, it's kind of your responsibility to charge them the correct taxes. So that's where it gets a little bit difficult with online businesses. Depending to who you're selling to, where they're located, you will need to charge them the correct taxes. A lot of the time, you can use some software that does it automatically for you. I know like the Shopify website extension is very good. However, yeah, it'll just be your responsibility to know those taxes, or use some form of software that calculates that for you. And then I'm specifically interested in opening an animal boarding service or animal hotel, but I'm not a veterinarian. So, you could always hire a vet there. However, taking care of someone's animal, a lot of the time you won't need to be a vet. You would just need to do that provincial registration, and then potentially a home-based business license if you're in Saskatoon or what have you. I do know there's an app called Rover where a lot of people will post that they can take care of your dogs. So that already exists, and a lot of people are doing that, and they're not veterinarians either. As well as if you're just operating under your first and last name with no additional pieces or a business name, you won't have to register either, but only if it's just your first and last name. So if, for example, I did Leonard Eagle Consulting, I would have to register that, but as Leonard Eagle, I would technically be an independent contractor and would not have to register. So, it is possible, and you wouldn't have to be a vet for that. Do we need a CPA to register the company or to get the GST and PST number? So no, you wouldn't. Anyone can go ahead and register the business themselves, and then be able to get that PST number and GST. We do offer it as a free service. So, if you're needing some help with that registration or to set up those accounts, feel free to reach out to us, and we'd be happy to help. So yeah, now your last step is just any applicable employer obligations. So in Saskatchewan, It is your responsibility to get familiar with the Employment Standards Act. So you'll have to deal with, complaints, fines, layoffs, vacation time, minimum wage, that type of thing. So it is your responsibility to be familiar with the Employment Standards Act. And if you break it, or there's some issues, it can cost your business quite a bit of money. So it is quite important to be familiar with the Employment Standards Act and to provide a good workplace for any employees you plan on hiring. Um, yeah, part of this as well, for any employees who aren't immediate family members, you will need workers' compensation insurance. So I can't give you, a direct quote on how much it will cost you. It's based on employees on the payroll and so on. However, when you do that provincial registration, you can put your email address in, and they will send you an info package on everything you need to know about workers' compensation insurance. So I definitely recommend doing that if you are registering the business. And then just checking out the WCB Sask website, just to familiar yourself with workers' compensation insurance. Some other considerations, for any corporation, you will need a corporate bank account. It's optional for sole proprietors and partnerships. However, if you don't have a corporate account as a sole proprietor or partnership, you can't cash checks in the business's name most of the time. I know some bank tellers will let it slide. However, best case, just get that bank account up and running. Potentially looking into some trademarks. I do know they're still approving trademarks from 2019 to date, so I don't think this is a pressing issue at this time, anyways. However, that's something you might want to consider. Commercial realtor. So if you're looking for that commercial space, we do have a program to connect you with a commercial realtor if needed, just to make sure you're finding a good location and giving your business the best chance of success. Sales proposals and partnership agreements, having everything in writing. Unless it's in writing, it never happened, right? So getting some of those agreements in place, potentially an accountant, website, social media. Definitely the insurance piece, especially under a sole proprietorship, getting some form of insurance, whether liability, property, anything like that. Payment processing and confidentiality agreements. So you will need a payment processing system, so customers can tap their card or even use their debit or credit cards, as well as some confidentiality agreements to protect yourself if you are looking to either find investors, find partners, getting some of those confidentiality agreements in place so that no one goes ahead and takes your idea. So yeah, we've covered a little bit here. We do have some free resources for you. A lot of our services are similar to Wesk's. So we do have business advisors in our Saskatoon and Regina office. We're here Monday to Friday, 8 to 4, where you can come to us with any questions you have. You can also shoot us an email, give us a call, anything like that. We'd be happy to answer any questions you have. You do have free unlimited meetings with all of our advisors, so we can take it one step at a time and go from there. We do have market research reports, which I'll get into in the coming slides. Our Ask an Expert program, again, I'll get into shortly here. We provide business registration assistance. So if you are wanting to set up shares, incorporate, anything like that, we do offer that service for free as well. And we have lots of business guides and checklists, as well as document templates. So I mentioned those confidentiality agreements, partnership agreements, shareholder agreements, non-disclosures, all of those documents we do have for free by request. And that list is like there's 1,000+ documents in that folder. So if you think we might have it, we probably do have it. So feel free to reach out for any of those resources. But yeah, with the market research reports, we do offer 3 free market research reports. They do have monthly limits. However, most of the time, a lot of entrepreneurs won't even get close to the limits. So our first offering is our business listings. So these will show you either competitor or supplier data in a given location of your choosing. So as you can see on the slide here, this is limited service restaurants in Saskatoon. Um, so you'll be able to see a total number of businesses operating in that industry, as well as it'll include contact info. So you can kind of use these business listings from two angles, one for cold calling. So if you wanted, membership organizations in Saskatoon, you can reach out to, we can do it for that industry. Or say you are operating in the fast food industry, you can use these to calculate, your competitors. They do include sales volumes. So if you are wanting to see how much certain businesses make or are spending on certain expenses, this data is included as well. So you can really use these to get a sense of how much potential revenue you can generate, as well as also just that cold calling list if you are doing that, going that route. So there are a few different uses for these business listings, and again, they are free to request. So if you are on that business planning stage, you kind of want to see what similar sales volumes are for your financial projections or how much you'll spend on advertising and so on. These can really help you. Our second form of research are industry reports. So these industry reports, they are good for financial projections. So they will show you a compound annual growth rate. Say, for example, it's 6%. That will give you the option to, increase if the industry is going up by 6% in the coming years, you can project your earnings to increase by 6% year over year. So if you are wanting some accurate financial estimations, these industry reports can help you as well. It will show profit margins, number of businesses. We can do it in Canada or Saskatchewan. Products and services segmentation, and a ton of key industry data that will really help you with your planning and provide you peace of mind, as well as to see the feasibility of the business you're planning on starting. So the last form of research we offer are census profiles. So essentially, these profiles, we can do them for a town, a town, a city, a province, Canada as a whole. We can do it around a street address, say, for example, 5 kilometers around Midtown Mall, or any address you provide us. These are very useful, and if you're looking for a commercial space, we can pull a census around that area to see exactly your total potential customer base, foot traffic, how much they're spending on certain pieces as seen on the slide here. And they are broken down even further in the actual reports. It'll show demographic info, age info, all that good stuff, and exactly how much money they're spending on all of these pieces here. So these are very useful in determining or estimating financial projections in the business plan, or even just choosing a location. These can really, help you decide on where you want to open your business. So yeah, we do have some additional resources as well. So we have our Ask an Expert program. So once, excuse me, sorry. During the year, you can meet with an accountant, a business planner, business strategy, a lawyer, a marketing expert, and a commercial realtor. They are $25 for a 45-minute meeting for each category. However, I'm not sure if you've ever walked into a lawyer's office, but as soon as you open the door, it's $300. So, yeah, we offer this program here to get new business owners some additional resources and those high-level answers to any business questions that they have. So yeah, $25 for that 45-minute meeting, and it's just located on our website. So we have our events calendar as well, much like West, where we host, workshops, seminars, networking events. We try to stay on top of all events happening in Saskatchewan. So a lot of the time, if you're looking for a certain event, most likely it would be on our events calendar. We scrub everyone else's events calendars and make sure that we know exactly what's going on in the community and so on. So if you are looking to get connected with entrepreneurs or do some networking, feel free to check out our events calendar and West's as well. They have a lot of good events on there as well. So yeah, we also offer business planning guidance. So if you are on that business planning stage, we do have a template that we can send to you. It's on our website as well that outlines each section of the business plan. So you can just go ahead and start typing away and have everything structured for you. As well as we have completed business plans for free on the industry you're planning to start in. So if you're wanting to see a completed business plan for your specific business, those are free to request as well, where you can pick and choose certain pieces to include in your own and kind of see what's all required in that business plan. We do offer market research reports that I went over earlier, and we do have a business planning webinar that occurs monthly over Zoom, which is happening tomorrow, as I mentioned earlier there, which is just on that events calendar, which on our last slide where our website is linked. Just feel free to check that out. And we do have business plan consultants through our Ask an Expert program, as well as we do offer business plan reviews for one section from our advisors, myself, or any of the other advisors. Once you've attended that business planning webinar, we'd be happy to review a section for you there for free as well. Are there any questions? Yeah, so how do we book with the experts? So where you see the book an appointment link here on the end of the slide there, you would just go to skstartup.ca. You'll see a How We Help tab at the top of the screen. Underneath that, it'll say Professional Services, and then you can click Book Appointment to book with any of those experts, accounting, legal, marketing, strategy, business planning, and commercial realty. Those are all kind of under there. So if you just head over to the skstartup.ca website, you'll be able to find it there. Yeah, so the events calendar, yeah, that calendar, it's just at skstartup.ca/events, and you'll be able to find that there. I actually don't think it was linked on the slide. It should have been. Oh yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, so just go to skstartup.ca, and then you'll see that events calendar right at the top of the screen. And then, yeah, our address is on the slides here as well for Saskatoon and Regina. Our phone number, our general info email as well. So feel free to either book an appointment, give us a call, shoot us an email. We'd be happy to speak with you, meet with you, get you some research or advise you in any way possible. So feel free to take advantage of that whenever needed. I know a lot of our services are similar to Wesk's, so I'm sure the same goes for Wesk as well. So either way, feel free to reach out to any one of us and take advantage of any of those additional free resources you might need when starting your business. Well, give it a couple more minutes for any questions to come in. If there's no further questions, feel free to leave the webinar. Excuse me. Yeah, well, thank you all for attending today. It was my pleasure to present, and I hope to meet with you some one of these days coming up. So.
Thank you so much, Leonard. I just have a few things I wanted to add. Again, of course, thank you so much, Leonard, for such an informative presentation. And thank you, everyone who used your lunch hour to be here and join us for this presentation. So informative. Just a reminder that this webinar will be available tomorrow by this time for on-demand viewing on our website. So you can always go back and view this. We have a few other webinars coming up in June. So our next webinar will be about building confidence for female investors. And then we also have a blueprint for success crafting your business also in June. Those will be on our website. So go ahead and check those out. Leonard provided so many resources. So again, use those resources as best as possible. And again, thank you all for being here. And I'll see you hopefully next month for next webinar. Thank you and take care. Thanks, Leonard. Bye.
Yeah, anytime. Bye.
Okay.